In this presentation, I'm going to talk about Bruce Gillis' The Case for Colonialism, which has naturally sparked a wild debate about ethics and where the limit should be for what is acceptable in an academy. And incidents like this always put me in very inconvenient positions because I always think the best of people, and even though I know that there are a lot of people out there who doesn't have the same worldview as me, but I'm always open for debates, and even though with people that has completely different opinion than me. But before I describe Bruce Gillis' article, I would like to start with the word in question, namely the word colonialism, and why it has created this debate. The word colonialism sends without any doubt negative feelings, and we are cognitively thinking of oppression of others when we hear that word. Not only is this word offensive, but people who are affected by colonialism considers any defense of it as an insult. The word for many is synonym for Holocaust, genocide, famine, and ethnic divisions that which affect the former colonies even in present time. I believe the case for colonialism is sensitive, firstly because colonialism didn't actually end, and secondly because we are now living in a period of time where more nations adopt nationalistic view of the world, and this was culminated when Donald Trump was elected as President of the United States. And everything in politics ever since that election has been extremely tense. More politicians in the world are now speaking in terms that are not only unethical, but it has also reached beyond incitement. This rhetoric reaches all aspects of our world, and naturally even our educational system. When I read about Bruce Gillis' ideas for the first time, I thought, why not? It sounds really nice. Why not create islands of political systems that actually works in areas that has huge problems with its political system, and from Middle Eastern perspective, for instance Iran, that has huge problems with basically everything from water management to its political system. Bruce Gillis' ideas are basically that the governments and peoples in developing countries should replicate as far as possible the colonial governance of their past. Secondly, recolonize some areas. Western countries should be encouraged to hold power in specific governance areas, like for instance in judicial system or political systems. And thirdly, new colonies from scratch. But colonialism should only return with the consent of the colonized. And then he gives an example of an African island where a Western state should thrive on this African coast. And in his article, he does not encourage Western countries to occupy other countries by force, but rather Western countries should help the third world countries in becoming Western capitalist democracies. In his text, he doesn't generalize any people or any religion, but rather focuses on countries that should be labeled as failed states. From a positive point of view, this is in stark contrast to America First movement that actually promotes isolationism. But Bruce Gillis is interested in engaging the failed states. From the negative perspective, he is not actually promoting real action in his text, and certainly not without the consent of the indigenous people, but rather a change in the definition of the colonial period. Bruce Gillis wants us to be more critical of the past events, so that we can separate the positive and the negative effects of the colonialism, and from there select the things that worked and ultimately improve and save lives, and set up controls to avoid the negative aspects of the colonialism. And this is where things does not go well with the rest of the academy. The critics argue that not only is this article an insult, but it also is empirically and historically inaccurate to even be accepted as an article worthy the academy. In the article A Case Against the Case for Colonialism by Shahar Khan, several examples are given by inaccuracies of the article. For instance, the British adventurism in India. Ethnic diversity was exploited, and that legacy persists even today. Not only does this create tensions within India and Pakistan, but it also jeopardizes global security. But his main argument is that people like Bruce Gillis legitimizes a whitewashing of the academic literature. If you consider academy as a system, this system has to be sourced where information are based on well-sourced facts, so that it will not be challenged as anything but an environment of integrity, honesty and transparency. There must be standards so that it will not provide falsehoods or misinformation. Shahar Khan also fears that the article will justify states to militarily intervene on foreign nations and adventurism under the pretext that they are doing it for the indigenous people's own good. But in the article, its retraction during rebuttal by Colleen and Flaherty, I could agree on the comparison that our history, whether it be academy or anything else, is that we have made a lot of mistakes and that we have to learn from these mistakes. Of course, referring to the publishing of Bruce Gillis' article. So if Bruce Gillis' article is full of mistakes, then the job of the experts is to point this out and help the community to learn from this mistake. My personal opinion about the article is that the use of the word colonialism in positive terms is, according to me, either a clickbait or an effort to normalize the colonial past. His rhetoric is in such a way that he blames the misery the former colonial countries still are facing on the anti-colonial movements, because they forced the colonial powers to suddenly end their adventurism. And here I can understand the frustration the colonized people feel about this. It's like blaming the injuries caused on a raped person, not on the perpetrator, but rather on the victim. If he or she wouldn't have resisted and tried to end the assault suddenly, maybe the outcome would have been different or positive. And this is crazy. I would say that with the world of today, the Academy must challenge these kind of articles with counter articles and engage in debates instead of retracting inconvenient articles. Because no matter how we turn it, the Academy is part of and dependent of the world. And it should not treat itself as if it is independent and not dependent of the rest of the world. Because if it does that, the rest of the world will be such a larger system that the Academy will suddenly be insignificant comparing to this system. By promoting retraction, it also risks that it will be considered as a place where censorship occurs and people of other opinions will look to alternative places to find information. And this will create a dangerous world where this will be a world without control of dangerous ideologies. And we are already in a situation where politicians are openly attacking journalists.